Stock market today. Analysis for Thursday, March 23rd, 2023. We're going to talk about a variety of things, looking at stock charts, also looking at some economic events, heat maps, a lot of stuff in here, news. You know, if you just want to keep life simple and you have an internet connection, you have a bank account, and you spend money at least once a year, I'd consider selling cash secured put options on stocks you wouldn't mind owning. If you want to know why I would consider that, there's going to be a link popping up right here to a video that gives you 5 reasons why you should be doing it. I'm putting at the 1 minute mark, which is boom right there. I'm putting it at the 1 minute mark so it's easy to remember. You don't have to watch it right now. You can watch this video and go back. When you watch this video, you might think like, wow, I don't like this stuff. It's too much. Consider learning how to do this. So check out ihavesuccess.com. There's a link in the description below this video. There's free stuff and there's paid stuff. But ultimately, either way, it's teaching you how to sell cash secured put options on stocks you wouldn't mind owning. Check out all that stuff to get more information on that. Today we had a variety of high impact expected items to be released that were released, and tomorrow same thing. But it would appear that still the main driving factors that are going on in the market after these bank jitters came about is still how the government / Federal Reserve is dealing with these bank jitters. You see, we got a little bit of a mix of red and green on the heat map, with some of the bigger, let's say more weighted names green. And as far as advancing versus declining, almost 50-50, but a little more declining. We still have a significant amount of stocks hitting new lows. Significant amount below the 50-day moving average, and actually almost 65%, which I would say is a significant amount, below the 200-day moving average. I noticed for the last couple days, under this insider trading, Walton Robson, who apparently is an insider at Walmart, has been selling shares. Sold a lot of shares, or at least took in a significant amount of money from selling those shares. I think Walton was selling them yesterday. Also, maybe more. That's all I was paying attention to. Selling, who knows? Maybe he needed to buy a new car. Maybe he needed to bribe somebody. Who knows? Maybe he knows something that we don't know, or maybe he's just wants to pay for a wedding. Never know. We're looking at the futures right now. Futures are interesting to trade. If you don't really want to spend a lot of time managing and worrying about risk and things like that, then you don't want to be trading futures. But what you can do with the futures is take a peek at them, because they trade longer than the stocks. This is the S&P 500. This is the Dow Jones. This is the NASDAQ. And this is the Russell 2000. Let's just take a quick look at where these candles are right now. So low seems to be bottoming out, but we're bottoming out below this 200-day moving average. Seems to be moving sideways right here. Seems to be moving sideways above the 200-day moving average. Seems to be moving sideways right below the 200-day moving average, but bumping up against it. And got 2 candles to kind of be moving sideways-ish at the bottom end of this range, right above the 200-day moving average. I'd look at all these. I just don't really want to take up your time looking at all of them. But let's look at Bitcoin moving sideways here, and silver moving sideways at the top end of this big bull candle right here. Gold back up to the top part of this big candle right here. And oil knocking on the 70s door. Let's look at the dollar via UUP. Down over the last trading days. 20-year treasuries via TLT. Sideways. We looked at gold. We looked at oil. We looked at Bitcoin. We got the VIX. I think that with the advent of the zero DTE options, massively uptick in that, I think that it's possible that the VIX, to use it as an indicator, isn't necessarily the same as it was, let's say, 7, 8, 10 years ago, maybe even 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know exactly where or when, and that may or may not be true, but it might be. So I'm looking at the VIX a little bit differently. Some people trying to figure out what's going on. For me personally, I think what just looking at candles tells me quite a bit. So we see we had a wide range movement in the SPX today. Closed a little bit above this 200-day moving average. But look, we're kind of sideways. Up, down. This trading range right here, it's still in this trading range right here. Roughly about a month later. And for the Dow Jones, almost doji in here. This is closer to a doji, but that's not too far away from a doji. That's closer to a doji. That's the least out of all these, all 4 of these. This is the one that's looks least like a doji, but it's still, is closer to a doji than this is. Russell 2000, or at the bottom of this range right here, sideways range. NASDAQ at the top of this range right here, but it looks like you got these, Phil Grande would call these the tweezer pattern right here, where you got these two long wicks to the top. There's a chance that we might see some downward movement in that tomorrow. All these like up, down, maybe running out of momentum. Maybe it's going to take a break. Maybe it's going to reverse. But it's not a huge indication to upside movement. And looks like we got almost a mixed bag across our 12 indices, with more weight to the downside, which shouldn't be shocking to us, right? Because we continue to have a high percentage of stocks making new lows. Why then would we see the heat map looking like this, and why would we see the indices looking the way they are? Well, let's look at the top 10 holdings, the top 10 weighted holdings for each indice. And we'll take a look at that. So this is the S&P 500. Volume a little bit above the average of the 50-day, but see all this volume right here? Lower than that, but we got volume popping up. Not volume popping up both days. A lot of selling. This one, more buying than selling, but look at that. It's still a downward. And overall, we're looking at 6 months. And we do have low, higher low. Kind of a higher low. This makes it kind of debatable right in there. It's like it's sort of, but it seems like the overall range of movement from up and down is compressing. Right, this downward movement seems to be a little shorter than this upward movement. Maybe if we start seeing a pivot tomorrow, granted, like this downward movement, that one was definitely longer, but yeah, it sort of seems like it's getting tighter, and tighter. If that is what's going on, then which way might it break? Apple, what happened to Apple? Oh, look at that, kind of that double tweezer pattern type of thing right there. Apple, though it broke this 155 and it's pushing up towards the top, that might be one of the, overall from looking at these charts, trying to look at them every day, it seems like Apple's one of the stronger stocks, but there's a lot of stocks showing some weakness. Here's another one that's showing more strength than other ones, being Microsoft, but a lot of, seems like it's running out of some momentum from to the upside. Amazon, this one is definitely not looking like Microsoft or Apple, right? It's I know it went up a little bit here, but our overall, look at that, it's just been down. Meta, aka Facebook, this one, after the gap up, pulled back and bottomed out around here, and it's been on a bit of a strong run. So Meta, Apple, Microsoft, those are looking to have some strength. Google, and Google gets put in here twice, believe it or not. That just lately starting to show some strength, but looking at the last trading year, I guess right now at least we testing this 200-day, came back down, testing this 200-day again. What's it going to do though? Berkshire Hathaway, sideways but slowly moving down, testing this range. A little bit lower than that now, right? Testing right in here, but that 200-day moving average was kind of sloping down, sort of doing the sideways slope down. Tesla looks a bit like Amazon. Wrong way. Looks a bit like Amazon, just not screaming bullish. Nvidia, well, this one's screaming some bullish, as far as, like, I know that's not a picture of bullishness right there, but as far as just on this up part, it could be running out of steam. We just don't have like the strongest, these fundamental parts of our economy. But what I was told several years ago, actually, maybe even going back as far as 2012, that the economy and the stock market's disconnected. To some degree, there's probably some influence on there, but it seems like the stock market goes up or down more in relation to what the Federal Reserve is doing and what the government's doing. And JP Morgan seems to be balancing out here on the banking crisis stuff that's been going on. It seems to be balancing out there. Now we're going to look at the NASDAQ via the Qs. And interestingly enough, it's all the same stocks in the top 10 weighted stocks, except for JP Morgan Chase isn't in here, and neither is Berkshire Hathaway. You got PayPal, and you got Adobe. And then as we look at the Dow Jones, you're going to see a little bit of overlap too. So this overlapping of these particular companies could be a reason why you got majority of stocks going down and through these four indices. We really don't have a lot of diversification. We really don't have a true true representation of equality in these four. It's a lot of the same old names over and over. So I'm wondering when they're going to start giving some equality and diversity a chance in the stock market, since we're attempting to give equality and diversity a chance everywhere else. Nonetheless, until we reach fair and equitable ticker symbols for weightings of the indices, we're dealing with this repression of other tickers. And even though it might not be fair, I'm not saying that I'm not attempting to justify it. I am just attempting to point it out and try to look at what is happening here with this inequality, and what is the result of these patterns due to this inequality. and how it may or may not relate to the stock market, and how it may or may not relate to what the Federal Reserve and the Treasury decides to do. So we got this double tweezers over here. We looked at Apple, we looked at Microsoft, we looked at Amazon, we looked at Google, we looked at Meta, we looked at Tesla, we looked at Google a fourth time here. We looked at, did we look at NVIDIA? We did. We looked at, it's looking strong compared to other things. Looking at PayPal, see what I mean? Not looking strong, looking strong. Let's see how much overlap we have in the Dow Jones. We got Microsoft, and that's about it. That looks like that's our only real overlap there. So Dow Jones, you know, kind of looks like that in a way, or Berkshire Hathaway in a way. Now this one, been going down, right? It did its really volatile up and down, and then overall we're still volatile up and down below that 200-day moving average. Goldman Sachs below the 200-day moving average, trying to get up just a little bit there. Home Depot had this big drop, and we're just seems to be catching some support right around this 280 area. 280 to 290. Don't be surprised if it gets caught up in there. Microsoft, we already looked at that. Salesforce, in a way, looking similar with this gap and how it reacted to the gap, looking similar to Meta. Besides Meta is higher up right now, and it had more of this rounded bottom right here where we got kind of a sharp one. McDonald's still doing this sideways sort of range there. Honeywell trending down. Visa, it is trending sideways through this kind of, since about right in here, started trending sideways, and we got this, you can see some support right in there. Amgen down, moving sideways right now. Wouldn't be surprised if we see more downward movement. And Boeing kind of looking like McDonald's, looking like Berkshire Hathaway, where it's up above the 200-day moving average, and it's just kind of range bound going sideways. And small mid-cap stocks via IWM, really showing some weakness, but getting this catching this support right in this around the low 170s area, and no surprise that that's there, right? AMC is just not really looking that great. It doesn't seem to be drastically down. It's kind of like this sideways down, but it's down. And how much lower can it go? Since it's not a commodity, I don't think it can go below zero, but it's getting kind of close to zero. It's at $4 and some change. Shockwave, is that kind of bottoming out? We'll see if it's going to go up here and test this 200-day moving average, but we got the double tweezers. And Biohaven has just kind of been moving down, but we're hitting in this $13 area where we're catching some support right in there. Intelia, same thing, right? We just not looking strong. It's kind of doing the old Tesla sort of got the Google stuff going on, but it's not up against the 200-day moving average here. Amazon, that's sort of same look. Crocs, just doing the whole McDonald's, Berkshire Hathaway. Who else is doing that? Boeing, just kind of doing this sideways range above the 200-day moving average. And Chart Industries, it's below the 200-day moving average, but just doing this sort of sideways drop down, definitely drop, contending with this 110 right in there. Drop down, now it's back above that 110, getting some support in that area. And the whole Kataruna was doing the sideways thing, but it's losing it, right? It really kind of lost it down here. Now it's doing its sideways thing below the 200-day moving average. And Apelios, a lot of volatility here, and you might think from just looking right here that yes, in this picture right there, when I'm circling, that has a bit of similar look to like the whole McDonald's, Berkshire Hathaway, Boeing type of thing. I forgot there was some other stocks in there too. But it's kind of trending down, and look at it, like dropped here and dealt with this, where our other stocks, I think they're kind of more of a rise up and then stayed up, where here we're kind of battling. Got a lot of volatility in here. I don't think I checked out this one enough as far as high volatility, what sort of option trades might be good on that. But ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the line chart. Now this line chart right here is a line representation of the candles. Can you believe that? Isn't that amazing? Before I zoom this in, we were looking at 10 years with I guess each maybe pivot in the line representing 1 week. Right? So we're really able to look at a lot of information here. And overall, like your good buddy Brent has been saying, we're sideways. We've just been going sideways. And while we were sometime in here, I think before the end of the year, I started saying, man, I think it's possible that we might move out of this downward bear market through by grinding sideways. And so far, that's what's been happening. I don't know if it's going to happen for the rest of the year. To be quite frank with you, I don't really try to prognosticate the future of the stock market. I know it can go 3 different directions. Do you know what 3 different directions the stock market can go? Well, whether you do or don't, I'm going to tell you right now. It can go up, it can go down, and it can go sideways. That's it. So it's not too hard, right? If you just randomly pick one, you got 1/3 of a chance of being right. And so there's a lot of stuff, like, for example, nuclear war. That probably wouldn't be too good for the economy. That probably wouldn't be too good for the stock market. Yeah, I get it. Raytheon is going to do well. Whoever's making nuclear bombs, they might do well for a little while until everybody's dead. But overall, a lot of war and stuff like that. That's not too healthy. That's not too great for a robust, financial situation, unless you're in a weird situation where you profit from the war. So we got that going on. We got like high inflation. We got these things that are putting downward pressure on the stock market, right? But we also have this thing called the plunge protection team, right? We got that. And we got, even though they raised rates, there's like share buybacks. There's what else is there? There's, what else is there? We don't have the same sort of QE like we had here, or whatever, we're not going to call it QE, but it gives this upward movement to the stock market. Like right now, the Fed just increased its balance sheet, and that tends to happen in QE. So whether or not this recent increase of the balance sheet is technically quantitative easing or not, will that money end up floating into the stock market? If some of it does, it helps push the stock market up. So we got forces pushing the stock market down. We got things trying to keep the stock market up. Here's another one. Politicians don't really like the stock market falling apart while they're in office because they want to get reelected. So if they can't blame it on someone else, they just don't want it happening. So we got forces pushing down, we got forces pushing up, and then if they're sort of equal, so that was sort of my base case with why I was thinking. Plus, I was just I was seeing it like not make. Once it started, I think it was about right in here. Once it started going back up, say, hey, what's going to happen? I can't remember where I started thinking that, but that's definitely what's going on right now. So right around this time, when it was moving up through here, I remember saying, I want to see what's going to happen from 420 to 440. And what happened from 420 to 440 was it went the opposite way. Right? We didn't have to worry about how it got through 420, how it got through 425, how it went into 430, how it went from 430 to 440. We didn't even have to worry about that because it went the opposite way. And now what we're seeing is how is it behaving from basically around this time. It was like kind of wavering in the middle of 420 and 400, roughly 408, 412, 410, somewhere in there, kind of in there. And now what we see is it's below 400, and what's happening between 400 and 480, right? Because you see you've got these pivoting parts around 480. Their next place is going to be around 460. And we could break it down into more details in those numbers, but just to kind of keep it basic. But so right now we're not able to, at this point, we haven't been able to get above the 400. And just at this, closing at this 393 and some change, we're all the way down here. So if we're not able to get above 400, then at the minimum, we're just going to go sideways, and probably at some point, if we're not able to get above 400, at some point, we're probably going to start testing lower. But if we are able to get above the 400, then we want to see what happens from 400 to 420. The same thing, go up to 440. And it's possible just kind of grind sideways. One thing we want to be at least aware of is look at how the range is just kind of been getting tighter, right? If it's going to start pivoting up right here, here was our pivot last time, it's a little bit higher. Granted, this one, you got a little bit higher here. Here's a pivot here. So overall, it just kind of seems to be maybe tightening up a little bit, which if it keeps getting tighter, we got forces pressing this way, we got forces pressing this way, and it keeps getting tighter, it keeps going range bound. Like the longer, what do they say? The longer it base, the higher into space, or I guess space could be below. So if it stays in this range and it kind of gets like a tight coil, a spring just being wound tighter and tighter and tighter for longer, it might end up busting out to one direction or the other, and with a pretty extreme move. So we'll see. Now, if you're good at picking direction, if you want to be good at picking direction, all that type of things, you gotta practice a little bit. Now, whether you want to be good at picking direction or you don't want to be, this is a great way to start. This doesn't really require you to be super good at picking direction. But one of the things that it will do is you will really start getting focused on the movement of a stock. So consider doing that. We'll be done with the week, the trading week tomorrow. Be able to look at weekly charts. We could look at weekly charts right now. We'll have a closed candle tomorrow, and I personally think this is a great time to be trading. I don't think it's a good time to, as a beginner, I don't think it's a great time to begin speculating, but I think it's a good time to begin trading and building up a portfolio of stocks at the minimum that you want to do the wheel strategy on. We're getting a lot of volatility. Hey, pick some stocks that you wouldn't mind owning the rest of your life if you had to. A lot of data. Check out I Have Success. You guys have a fantasmo Thursday. Aloha.